Hey, good evening. Welcome to the May 26, 2026 Sherrill City Commission meeting. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Item number 2, approval of minutes for the May 11th, 2026 meeting.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Pacola?
Aye.
Shay?
Aye.
Sales?
Aye. Item number 3, approval of warrants.
Okay. In the general fund, there's $190,200.83. Sewer, $13,629.73. Power and light, $244,456.25. And trust and agency, $292.63.
I'll second it.
Pacola?
Aye.
Shay?
Aye.
Sales?
Aye. Okay, item number 4, city officials reports. Brandon?
Thank you, Mayor. Just two quick things. One is the paving is complete. We were able to start and finish within a week, which is amazing. And paving company did a great job. Our DPW did an excellent job prepping for it and getting ready. So everything came out really nice. We're out painting. Well, we're finishing painting this week. We started painting last week. So all the road markings should be done in the next few days. We'll get down here to Sherrill Road, the parking area in front of Cornwall's Corner, and reline that as well. So we're getting close, but again, very early for that, which is great. Yesterday I had an amazing Memorial Day parade, very well attended all around, from participants in the actual parade and then obviously spectators that came. So great turnout for that. So that's all I have for you.
Okay.
I really don't have anything. Lenny's I don't want to take too much of his time, so
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, with that, then I guess we'll move on to item number 5. Lenny, go ahead. 2025 financial statements. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And these are extra, right, Lenny?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
I don't know if I could take all these changes all at once. So I'm Len Carissimo, if don't know me from past meetings. We do a review each year, and it's been a pretty good process over the years, just to keep the financials in perspective and give you a full perspective financial statement. So this is just a review. It's not an audit, so it's a little bit less in the scope. And I should thank Renee and all the staff, Brandon, for all the help that they gave us during when we're bothering them the whole week and they're trying to do their thing and we're trying to do our thing. But we got it all together. It was a little curve without Mike, but it was like we got through it. And I think Renee's going to do a fantastic job. She did a fantastic job this year. So that worked well. I just turn you to the table of contents just to show you what's in here. We start with my report, the review report, and then there's a brief section in there, management discussion analysis, which really emphasizes the government-wide financial statements. There is some fun financial statements, but it's supposed to be written in more common terms and that type of thing that's a little bit more easily understandable. And then the next section there, we get into the government-wide financial statements. Now, we'll see this after, but it's everything. It's all the long-term liabilities. It's all the fixed assets, property and equipment and everything. It's the whole perspective of the city. Versus the funds. The funds is just like the current flow of the resources and what you have available to spend. So there's a big difference between those financial statements. And then we got the business type activities in the middle there. That's your electric fund. Fiduciary fund, we started to add that a few years ago. That's just the water fund. That's because the water fund is a separate entity, but it's on your books. You have full custodial over those assets and the spending and everything like that. And then on the bottom, you see there's some good reports on the bottom, the supplementary information with the, especially the first one, with the general fund and sewer fund budget to actual schedules. The first page, if you turn past the table of contents, we got this is my report. This is just like I said, we're responsible for just making sure that the financial statements don't need any material modifications. And the way we do that is through analytics and inquiry, but we kind of do a little bit more than analytics and inquiry. We're reading the minutes, we're going over, we're actually talking about internal controls and that type of thing. So it's kind of like this far away from an audit. So it's like we're getting close, but it's not an audit, and it's like a lot less in scope than an audit. Um, so, it's just limited insurance. If you turn in a little bit, something a little bit more interesting is on page 8 is all your fund balances. So you see the general fund, the sewer fund, the capital fund, and the miscellaneous special revenue fund. But as far as the general fund's concerned, yeah, it increased $188,000, and ironically, that's about exactly what you budgeted to put into your reserves. So that's well planned. So that's a 6% increase overall. And if you looked at the $3 million and you compare that to your budget, that's a good size fund balance. That's about 88% of your budget. And last year was 54%. It was a little less because we had some encumbrances. We had $588,000 in encumbrances, but $240,000 of that was for the Route 5 project. So you can see the reserves did increase $125,000 net, but you did spend $60,000 on some police vehicles. So then you put $30,000 in. The actual undesignated fund balance is about 52% of the overall expenditures. So again, that's a healthy fund balance. And if you look down below on the sewer, you have $906,000. That's over 100% of your budget in the sewer fund. So even though you have a good debt load in the sewer fund, you have good resources for that. And then underneath that, we have the capital fund. It has a deficit in there because it's being financed by a short-term bond anticipation note. So as that bond is paid down, that deficit will go away. So that's basically $157,000 for the rescue truck, $118,000 for the dump truck, and $280,000 for the courts. So it's all according to plan. This used to have a balance in prior years, but last year it got cleared out. So that's why there's no fund balance in the prior year. Because remember, last year was a sewer project, and we cleared the $74,000 out into the sewer fund. Stepping in a little bit, in page 10 is the debt. Just to point out a couple things here, you're at 3.7% of your overall debt limit. Which again is very healthy. I mean, I got schools I'm doing right now. It's like we're getting up into the 50s. So I had one school years ago. They were almost at 100% of their debt limit. So the sewer debt should be exempt from me. I know you have to apply for it, so I'm not really sure if you've applied for that, but because it's through EFC, I would assume it's exempt from your constitutional debt limit. So of the $120,000 and $162,000 for the garage and the truck above, you add the band, the $537,000 band that we talked about. So that gives you about $819,000. But of that, you can subtract your debt service that you budgeted for 26, and that gets you to $632,000. That gets you at 3.7% of your debt limit. So, I mean, debt load wise in the general fund and fund balance wise, you're in very good financial condition. I point that out because then I flip you to page 12. So page 12, if you look at the bottom, this is your government-wide financial statement. So this is not your general fund, but this is the general fund, the sewer fund, the capital fund, all added up together, plus the fixed assets, plus the deferred outflows, deferred inflows, plus the bonds and the other post-employment benefit. The other post-employment benefit is the one that causes the deficit. Because if you took the net of the deferred inflows and outflows and that um, OPEB liability, which is about 5.6 million, the net is about $6 million deficit. So that's the only reason why you have that. And there's no way to fund that in New York State. There's no legal way to fund that. And the same thing with the electric fund. You see 1.6 million. Well, the net OPEB liability is 1.6 million. So that's exactly what it is. And in fact, if you took out all the business type activities, which is basically your electric fund, if you took out all those long-term items, even the fixed assets and the long-term debt, you would actually have a $1.2 million surplus in the fund, which is very similar to what it was last year. The prior year was only like it was 1.3 million. So it seems like it's kind of stable, even though there's been a lot of ups and downs over the last few years with the rate increases and that type of thing. Page 14 is your balance sheet of the governmental funds. So here it doesn't look, if you were to compare it to last year, the totals really didn't change that much. In the general fund, the current assets are $3.3 million last year, but $3.4 million last year. But last year, the due from other governments was about 1.6 million because of the Route 5 grant. And cash increased from last year about 1.3 million. So it's all within there. One thing to point out in the deferred inflows, you have the deferred inflows for grants. Last year they had the ARP money, and there was $50,000 of the ARP money that got spent in 25. And this year it's just the police grant, I believe. And then the thing that's going to cause when we look at the next page in the revenues to increase, you can see the taxes that increased about 115,000. But the reason why the taxes increased 115,000 was because you had a 3% tax rate increase, and in 24 the deferred revenues increased, and then they decided to pay their taxes in 25, so they decreased. So the variance ends up multiplying. So that's an $80,000 swing right there, in addition to the $30,000 that did change. And then in the capital fund, you could see the $537,000 liability. There's a due from, because we got to get into the swing of actually using capital project funds, because this is all kind of running through the general fund. So that's the reason why there was due froms, because this originally ran through that fund. So that's why there's a asset in there of 137,000. But plus that you have a liability for the rescue truck for the $157,000. So that's why that's happening. If you turn a little bit more on page 16, you see the revenues and expenditures, and you can see the surplus in the general fund, 188,000. This looks drastically different than if you were to look at it last year, just because of that Route 5 grant. Expenditures and revenues were both a lot higher than they are in this year. It's about $1.5 million difference between the prior year. But you can see the real property tax is 1.1 million versus last year was only like 989,000, and that increased for what we just said. The rest of the revenues really didn't change much except for the state aid. So really wasn't a big swing. The sewer, that's kind of seems like it always goes down a little bit each year. And I think this year was a decrease in usage, whether it's residential or industrial charges keep going down, because that's a $33,000 decrease from the prior year. So last year you had a little bit of a surplus in the fund. This year you've crossed the edge where you're getting into deficits. But like I said, you have over 100% fund balance in there. But if you were to compare this to budget, like you have $188,000 surplus in the general fund, if you look at the budget to actual schedule, that's caused because you had a $331,000 over revenues over budget. And then you had expenditures that were under budget by 381,000. But then you appropriated 709,000, and then you used $185,000 for the. So if you add up all those, well, you had to subtract the appropriated fund balance part. You end up exactly with $188,000. And then in the capital fund, you could see the expenses there: the rescue truck, the plow, and the courts. They're adding up to your deficit. And you can see there's no revenue there, but next year, as you pay it down, you will start seeing revenue come back in. Or if you were to bond it, you would see the whole thing come back in. The other fund to look at is on page 18. This is the electric fund. Like I said, it doesn't show much of a fund balance down on the bottom, only 154,000, but that was $100,000 increase from the prior year. And like I said, if you were just to show this like the general fund, like the sewer fund, the surplus would be like $1.2 million. So, but there's been a lot of changes in this too, because the receivables are up about 195,000 because of the rate increases. Liabilities are up because you increased the budget. Last year, for 24, the budgets wasn't very high. That's why you ended up with a little bit of a deficit in the prior year. And this year, because last year you had a deficit of like $440,000 versus this year you had a surplus, because you can't always have a deficit. And part of the accounts payable too is the digger derrick that's in there, the $200,000 liability. Any questions on this page? No. Pretty straightforward. And then if you look at page 19, that's just your revenues and expenses. And, because of the changes in the budget and that type of thing, revenues went up about 33%, but expenses only went up 8%. Just the electric purchases alone just went up 23%. That's all I had.
Okay.
Thank you for the podium. This was nice. I could stay here all day.
We won't make you do that.
Thank you, Lenny.
I won't be here next year.
You will, right?
I'm podium.
Recently. Well, thank you,
Okay,
Lenny.
yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
no,
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
See you later.
Okay. Item number 6, public comment. If you wish to address the commission tonight, please come up, state your name and address.
It's not a list. My brain's not working. Ray Krupski, 326 Sherrill Road. Just a question, and maybe this is a Barry question, and he's not here, but the pool, it says that we're having WSI Red Cross certified instructors. When are they teaching everyone that? Because my son, who I'm assuming is going to be head guard since he's been there the longest, now that Lucas isn't coming back, we haven't been told anything about it. Is this the class that he needs to take? Is this something that the city's providing instruction for all the lifeguards?
You gotta talk to Barry.
Okay.
That'd be your first person to talk to is Barry. Yep.
Okay. All right. That's it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ray.
Hey, I'm Jeff from East Noise Boulevard. I got a question about the pool too. On the application you submitted for the pool grants, it said if you had to fix the pool, which was like $750 to $1 million to fix the pool, you would have to raise taxes. I'm thinking, why, if we borrow $650, why wouldn't we have to raise taxes when we borrow $650 but not $750 to fix the pool?
Those are different numbers. And honestly, we haven't had to pursue the opportunity for the 750 to $1 million. I don't think we have.
No, yeah, but they're saying if you had to bond for that, you would have to raise the city taxes
We'll
per. So you're saying there's no way we have to raise city taxes if we borrow the 650,000?
There's no specific tax increase to fund the 650,000 for the pool.
Why would there be one to borrow 750 though?
I don't know, there isn't. We didn't
Well, you know,
do
you
that.
put in your application that you would have to raise taxes. It said borrowing funds would result in dedicated city tax increase. For a home assessed 100,000, pool tax fees would be $80 to $120 for 15 years.
Mhm.
So if you want to borrow 750, you're saying you have to raise that. But if you want to borrow 650, you're saying you don't have to raise that.
I think what that says is how much the raise would be if we were going to fund it through a tax increase, like a specific tax levy.
No, but you said it says in here bonding. It's the same thing you're going to bond, correct, for the new pool? It's the same thing. Bonding is bonding, correct?
Bonding is bonding. That's the
So why would we have to have a tax increase if we bonded 750 but not have a tax increase to bond 650?
I again, I can't speak to the 750 right now. We didn't have to pursue that. We didn't have that as an option. We got the grant, so we looked at it from the 650, and we don't need to have a specific tax increase for that. I can tell you that.
But we would have had if we didn't do that and we bonded the 750, we would have to have a tax increase.
I don't know off the top of my head for that, but
No, it says in here we
Okay,
would have
then-
to. It's not.
okay.
It's not a question I'm asking. It's you put it in the application.
Then yes.
So for $100,000 difference, we don't need a bond. We don't need to have a tax increase for $100,000 difference.
Yes.
I think you're either lying to the public or you're lying to the state. One or the other.
Okay, thank you for your comment. Anyone else? Okay. We are closing public comment. Item number 7, other commissioners' reports. Commissioner Picola.
Great parade. That was very nice. It's just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I love it.
Thanks. Commissioner Shea.
It was a wonderful parade, a great attendance, and Ron did a phenomenal job up there. He's our commander of our legion, and nice proclamation you gave, Kevin. That's all to say about that.
Thanks. Yeah, agreed. Great event. Wonderful event. My family got to be involved in it. We really had a good time. So thank you to all the city employees and everyone else that was involved in it. Okay, I don't see a need for an executive session, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Pacola,
Aye.
Shay,
Aye.
Sales.
Aye.